Welcome to the second video from DK Custom Products on how to transition from riding 2 wheels to 3 wheels. My name's Kevin, this is Dwayne.
And I'm a triker now. I just got back from my first real ride on the trike, and we're going to discuss it.
So, purposely I haven't asked you anything since we got back from the ride.
Right.
Dwayne, we what 20 miles or so?
Mm-hmm.
Backcountry roads, a little bit of traffic, and 2 interstates.
Yeah.
A little riding on 2 interstates. So what'd you think?
Everything you said, exactly as you said. How you steer it, how you stop it, how you have to watch how wide you are, like everything you said is at the forefront of your mind the entire time that you're riding it. But it's fun. And I made a few comments along the way about how I felt about it, but overall I like it.
I got a lot of shots of you, and you're looking down this way, and you're looking at, I don't know if you were looking at where the rear fenders were, or I don't know what you were doing.
Well, some of it I was looking down. I'm not used to a heel-toe shifter, so I had to look down. I had to get used to that at first. And, I didn't want to do anything goofy on your bike while you were watching. I just had to get a feel for it. But once you get a feel for it, it's like that. It's just like riding a motorcycle. You either know what it feels like to ride a trike or you don't. But once you know that feeling, it doesn't go away.
So we get some pretty good curves. What were you thinking, like that one curve, which is really a right angle? I think they say speed limit down to 20 or 25.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
The best way I can describe it is when you're a new rider riding 2-wheel bikes, and if you're riding with a group of people and you're like, wow, they're really going through that curve faster than I'm comfortable with. But then you start to get, gradually you get just as comfortable, and you go through and you feel the exhilaration of going through a curve really fast. It's that same feeling, but it's a different G-force. Instead of, it feels like you're gonna flip over to the opposite side of the curve. It just feels like something's pulling you off instead of pulling you down.
Yeah, because when you go through on 2 wheels, it pushes you into the seat. On the trike, it's trying to push you off the seat.
Yeah, it's trying to toss you off the seat. So that's what pushing.
So were you
like you're gonna tumble?
Were you pinching the tank?
I was. I was. I found myself, my legs up against the engine. I felt the heat, and I had to. After a minute, you tell yourself just relax. I mean, it's no big deal, but it's definitely different.
I don't know if you're aware of it. Some of the curves, like a right curve, you were leaning like this. Were you aware that you were doing
I was, yeah. Just because I don't know, I didn't want to just be upright. And I didn't want to let whatever was going to happen.
Yeah.
Not that me leaning would have stopped that trike from flipping over. I think there's a stigma that trikes are for the old and feeble, and I admit I kind of thought that too at first, kind of the way everyone thinks a Sportster is a girl bike. Everyone thinks trikes are just, an upgrade from a hover round or an electric wheelchair, but after riding it, I don't feel that way. Not at all. The trike requires much more effort to operate than a 2-wheel bike. It's not as easy to mount. It's much larger. It has a larger footprint, so you have to be more aware of your surroundings when riding the trike. It's near impossible to dodge or avoid or traverse anything in the road. You kind of have to decide which of the 3 tracks you want to hit the bump with. So in a lot of ways, the trike is even more difficult to operate than a 2-wheel bike. There's only the nuance that the trike stands on its own. You don't have to balance it. This particular trike glide has a 114, so it's not slow by any means. It has all the power that I would expect. It has more power, in fact. When I visually look at the trike, it looks heavy. It looks bulky and it looks slow. But when you actually ride the trike, you see how nimble and quick it can be. But if I had an issue balancing a motorcycle or holding a bike up, health issues, something like that, I would most definitely consider a tri-glide or any trike. I know a lot of you guys are thinking about going to a trike. A lot of you already have. So if you disagree with anything I've said about the experience, just let me know, or anything you felt like I've missed out on that I need to try on Kevin's trike, let us know.
So I have some notes here that I want to, we've already done part 1, but I have some stuff I want to go over in part 2, and as I go over it, now that you've spent some time riding, chime in.
Okay.
Let's see. So you mentioned that you could really feel the heat. When we stopped in that parking lot and you did some emergency stops, was it different?
Yes.
Because you did just the front brake at first.
Yeah, I did just the front brake just to see what would happen in a controlled environment, and yeah, it doesn't want to stop that way. It just doesn't want to.
And then you put the rear brake on, and it was...
Yeah, I did it correctly. Applied the front in conjunction with the rear brake, and it stopped. It was excellent. It's crazy how if you do it correctly, it does really, really good.
So you mentioned that you could really feel the heat. And we looked at the power vision and saw what the temperature was. We looked at the oil temp. The oil temp was only 215.
Yeah, your bike's not any hotter than my M8 Softail in any regards, but I just felt that heat. Like, I felt hotter.
You have the lowers blocking the wind, and then you have those rear fenders not letting the wind keep going. Now that has a lot of cooling stuff done to it. Imagine what the factory ones are like.
Yeah.
Now it is 90 degrees out there today, but one of the first things to do, cool these puppies down, because you get out in hot weather and not only is it bad for the bike, but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And talking about comfort and things you've done to the bike, I think I made a comment that I don't know how I would feel about a stock tri-glide. I like that one. But, without those comfortable bars and without the backrest and without the floorboard extensions, everything you've done, I don't really know how I feel about it.
And you really wouldn't like the rear suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing is that we have the PSI at 22 pounds in the rear versus 26. And just those 4 pounds make those tires a lot more giving in the bumps. Now, did you go fast enough? I don't think you did, but I'll ask, did you go fast enough through any curves that you felt the front tire skipping at all?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll ride again. So some of the advanced things to look at is when you're going through a curve fast enough, that front tire will start skipping just a little. Just skip, catch, skip, catch, skip, catch, and it's shaving the rubber off, but that's, you're at a limit there. You know that when you feel that front tire skipping across, you don't want to go a lot faster through a curve. But then again, I go through almost every curve unless if I'm having fun, I'm going to go through every curve right at the point where that front tire is skipping a little through the curve. So, and skipping is nothing to be concerned about other than you're wearing your tire out faster. But it's not a sign that, something bad's going to happen. It just happens. Now here's another thing. And I know some people got hurt on tri-glides and freewheelers because what'll happen, it's different than a bike. So when you're going through a curve, or you're just going straight and a deer runs out in front of you and you swerve and you get the rear tire off in the gravel or off in the grass and it starts sliding, that scares people. And when they start sliding, they jerk the handlebars the other way. And then all of a sudden, the tires that were sliding all of a sudden grab traction and they can flip over.
Yeah.
And people got hurt that way. Here's the nice thing, it's absolutely amazing. When I look at the tri-glide, it looks like you can just do that and it's going to tip over. It doesn't look stable.
No.
But when you ride it, it's like a go-kart.
Yeah.
This is my experience. Kevin Perolo, private party. Whatever you do is on you.
Yeah.
What I do is on me. What you do is on you. This is not advice. In fact, my advice would be don't do it. Because if you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't discovered it on your own, you're probably going to hurt yourself.
Right. I was fortunate enough to have Kevin to give me pointers before I took out on the trike. If a emergency situation would have presented itself, my first instinct would have been to snatch that front brake, and that would have been my first instinct, and that would have ended badly. I'll fully admit that would have ended badly.
So, but what I'm fixing to say is what I do, what I like to do. I've never got hurt doing it, but you might get hurt doing it. So don't ever think that you can say, oh, you got this advice from Kevin, okay? But I love to drift the trike. I've drifted the trike. I've drifted the 11. I've drifted the 14. I've drifted the 19. And I've done it on gravel. I've done it in the sand. I've done it on asphalt. But you know, most of the on-ramps have nice curves and they're banked a little. When it's raining, when that road is wet, you just get on that throttle and just kick. You might have to break it loose a little, or it might just break loose on its own, and you can just drift for 100 yards. Just have your handlebars going straight and have that back end kicked out, just burning out the whole way down that on-ramp. I remember one road in the Yukon. It was a very nice graveled road, fine gravel, and there were lots of curves that were really banked uphill and then downhill, and Mary was on the back, and we had all of our stuff when we were going to Alaska, and we were just drifting through those curves. The reason I bring that up, not to advise anybody to drift, but if you do swerve and you find yourself sliding, these bikes are very, very stable. Let it slide. It's not going to hurt sliding. Now, don't slide into something if you're going to slide, but don't jerk the handlebars the other way if you catch yourself sliding, because that will high likelihood of flipping over, because all of a sudden you go from sliding to now you jerk it the other way. Now the back end comes around, hits the asphalt, and could very well flip. So sometimes we have to swerve to get around stuff. And if we do and we get where it's sliding, let it slide, it's going to be okay. And then what you did, you just were riding around in circles in that parking lot, seeing what it felt like. Because, you know, that's practice, that's getting you comfortable so that if you did get in a situation, so I think that you can never spend too much time in a parking lot doing emergency stops, and doing curves, even putting some cones out or something, and going through curves and getting more and more comfortable doing that. The Comfort Triangle, we'll put a link up here, the Comfort Triangle, more than a two-wheel bike. It's really important to get things comfortable on the trike, because it is so much harder steering. Did you know? You're a young guy, but I
can feel it. Like I can see how someone could become fatigued after steering that trike all day.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because we've got a half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I mentioned that while riding, that I could feel the tension, you know.
And that's with those aftermarket bars, which are much wider and have a lot better leverage. Plus it has the comfort lift that makes the steering easier. So definitely look at the Comfort Triangle to get the trike comfortable for you. Couple other things. The 2014 and up have linked brakes. That means that when you're over a certain speed, I don't remember what it is, 5 or 10 miles an hour, if you put the front brakes on, a little bit of rear brakes come on. If you put rear brakes on, a little bit of front brakes come on.
And the lever squeezes in?
Yes.
I thought I would just apply some rear brake. I could feel the
front brake lever pulsing.
Yeah.
And so they are linked, but if you do only front, it's not going to do all the rear.
Yeah.
So you want to do the front and the rear. And then the 19 and up have ABS. And so on the earlier ones that don't have ABS, you grab all the front brake. When you grab the front brake, it only stopped until you lost traction, then it let up on the brake and then did more. But on the earlier years, it would just lock up the front tire. You keep moving, and it'd just be screeching. Or if you're on a little sand, like there's sand in the road at a stop sign. So don't trust the front brakes on a trike. Got to use the rear brakes also. Then, and we talked about this in another video, and we'll link it up here. But they have the trikes now, the 19 and up trikes have RDRS, reflexive driver or RDRS. You can put up on the screen what it is. I can't remember. It's a suite of different electronic Nanny Functions. And so when you're going around a curve and you lose a little bit of traction, it'll cut the throttle. If you go, oh, I need to turn into that driveway, and you put your brakes on real hard and you turn sharp into the driveway, turning right, let's say, it's going to jerk your handlebars to the left because it's going to see that there's too much lateral force, and they're going to go, oh, we're going to apply just one of the rear brakes to try and straighten it out. So there's all kinds of Nanny Functions on these things to be aware of. Okay, and then you did it without even knowing it. You can affect the bike not tipping over by leaning. When I'm riding real aggressively, we'll put a link up above of me and Mary riding the Dragon, where we moved out pretty good through the Dragon. And when you're going fast, faster than you should, not advice, this is not advice, but when you're going faster than you should, it can lift up the inside rear tire. When you're riding on the edge like that, if you lean to the inside, you're shifting the weight to the inside, and it will keep that rear tire on the ground longer.
Yeah.
Okay? Of course, you can always go too sharp and too fast that even if you leaned all the way over, it could still lift up. The nice thing is, it'll lift up about that far off the ground. If you're not doing something really aggressive, it'll lift up about that far off the ground, and then it wants to stop because there's a panhard rod, and it will keep it from going, it won't keep it from going further. It will provide resistance to it going any further. If you pass that resistance point, if you lift it higher than that off the ground, you've passed that point where the bike is able to sort of keep that tire down, and the likelihood is you're going all the way over. So if you lift it that far, that far, but there's a point where you feel sort of like a resistance point to going any further. And if you go past that, I've gone past it once, scared the crap out of me. And Mary was on the back. It scared her too. But I felt it go past that little resistance point. And man, I did everything. I counter steered, pushed down with my foot and my hip and my weight all over here, and I brought it back down. But I was in a curve in the Ozarks, and it was a curve. I was peaking a hill, and there was a little bump in the road. All those things just contributed, and I was going too fast.
Yeah.
All those things just contributed to it going past that sort of resistance point. And that was 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been much more careful since then, because if we would have went over that same hill that happened to me on, 3 bikes behind me, a guy on a 2-wheel bike couldn't make the curve, or he could have, whatever. He didn't make the curve, and he just shot right across traffic into the weeds, rode through a bunch of weeds and a bunch of bumps, and then came back out on the road. But that was on a 2-wheel bike, and he went past traffic. At least I stayed in my lane. But shifting the weight to the inside, if you're going to ride aggressively, shifting that weight to the inside will prolong, it will, how do I say it? If the tire would come off the ground at X speed, you can shift your weight over to the right, and now the tire won't come off the ground until XY speed.
Oh, okay. So you can go a little bit faster. Okay.
Or you can, I purposely, and we got to put a link up here to the video where I purposely am lifting the rear tire off the ground, and we're videoing it from on the back of the bike, and then from in the parking lot right across the street from the old shop. And you can lift it I can lift it in a controlled manner. This is not recommendation for anybody else to do it, but I can lift it in a controlled manner, and you get a feel for where it is. So if you found this two-part series on how to go from riding 2 wheels to 3 wheels, whether it's that you're thinking about getting a 3-wheeler, whether you've already gotten a 3-wheeler, maybe you're a little uncomfortable in it.
Yeah. Or if you just want to reminisce what it felt like through me, because it's a new feeling entirely.
Yeah.
You know, give us a thumbs up.
And share the video with your friends. There are a ton of people out there thinking, whether they verbalized it to anybody or not, they're thinking, you know, people go, oh man, I'm going to get it. If I ever stop riding 2 wheels, I'm going to get a convertible. I'd never go to a trike. And I've seen a bunch of those people not get a convertible, and they are now on a trike.
Yeah.
Because a trike is very much like riding.
Yeah, you're in the wind. It's just, yeah.
So share it with your friends. Give us a thumbs up.
Hit that notification bell so you get updated when our next video comes out.
And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. It helps us out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything.
Y'all ride safe out there.